The morning light streamed through the courthouse windows, casting pale streaks across the polished marble floor. Reporters had already gathered outside, hungry for a scandal that hadn't even happened yet. Inside, whispers rippled through the crowd. They dragged someone in, another protester, another nobody. Then the doors burst open. 2 uniformed officers walked in, gripping a woman tightly by the arms. Her wrists were cuffed, the sleeve of her brown coat was torn, and her hair was tied in a messy bun at the nape of her neck. No makeup, no jewelry, only dignity. Her name was Amira Hassan. She looked poor, far too plain for all this shining marble. But in her eyes, a quiet fire burned. The bailiff shouted loudly, "Defendant Amira Hassan!" Heads turned, cameras flashed. The woman didn't flinch. Her gaze swept the courtroom, the judge, the prosecutor, the smirking officers. She memorized each one. She said nothing. "Sit her down," the judge ordered. Officer Collins shoved her forward. The chain of her cuffs clattered against the desk with a sharp metallic ring. Then, without warning, slap. One single, harsh sound. The courtroom froze. Someone's phone slipped from their hand and shattered on the floor. Even the judge paused. Collins's hand still hung in the air, a smug grin tugging at the corner of his mouth. "That's what happens when people forget their place," he said. Amira's head snapped to the side. A red mark appeared on her cheek. But she didn't lower her eyes. She stared directly at the marble inscription above the judge's bench. "In God we trust." The Court of Whispers. A reporter whispered from the back, "How can they hit her like that in front of everyone?" The one beside him replied, "Because they know nobody's going to stop them." Judge Harlan Reeves, 63, polished, arrogant, adjusted his glasses. He didn't even bother looking at her. "Proceed," he said. "Let's not waste the court's time." The prosecutor stood, bright red lipstick, razor-sharp voice. "Your Honor, the defendant was detained for loitering at the east entrance and refusing to show identification. She was found carrying what appeared to be stolen judicial documents, likely confidential files." "Likely?" Reeves asked. The prosecutor chuckled. "She claims she works here, Your Honor, as if she's one of us." Mocking laughter spread across the room. Even the stenographer tried not to smile. Amira stayed silent, a voice that didn't shake. "State your name," the judge demanded. "Amira Hassan." "Your occupation?" A short pause. "Former legal clerk." "Former?" Reeves leaned back, not surprised. More laughter, thin, sharp, mocking. Officer Collins crossed his arms. "She tried to enter a restricted area, Your Honor. Acted suspiciously, I had to intervene." Amira spoke in a low, steady voice. "So hitting people counts as intervening now?" The courtroom turned ice cold. All eyes swung to her. "What did you say?" Reeves growled. "You heard me," she said. "You watched him hit me and said nothing." The prosecutor jumped up. "I request charges for contempt of court. She is insulting this institution." Blood trickled from Amira's lip, but her expression never changed. "Justice," she said softly. Interesting word, especially in this room. 3 years earlier, she had walked these halls before, but not in cuffs. She carried files, volunteered with public defenders. No salary, no gratitude. But she didn't quit. She believed in the system. Believed that if you defended the truth carefully enough, eventually it would prevail. Until she learned it didn't. She saw police reports rewritten overnight. Bruised arms turned into signed confessions. The same faces, tired, brown-skinned, frightened, dragged in again and again. She recorded everything, every lie, every name, every date. Officer Collins was on that list. Last week, she filed a report exposing his inconsistencies in dozens of cases. 2 days later, her home was raided. Now, she was the criminal. The show begins. Judge Reeves leaned forward. "Officer Collins, give your statement." Collins puffed his chest. "Your Honor, the defendant acted aggressively, refused to show ID, and attempted to enter a restricted area. She carried stolen documents." Amira cut in quietly. "Those documents were case files. My work." Reeves slammed his gavel. "I'll tell you when you can speak." The prosecutor smirked. The audience relaxed, their sense of order restored. But inside Amira, a storm churned. Let them talk. Let them laugh, she thought. Every word is evidence. The second slap Collins leaned down and whispered, "People like you never learn, do you?" Amira slowly turned. Women? Or people who know the law? He grinned. "Your kind." Amira didn't even blink. Then he slapped her again, harder, crueler. The sound echoed. Gasps filled the room. A whisper. She probably deserved it. The judge didn't even look up. "Continue." A single tear slid down Amira's cheek, not from pain, but from a vow, born in silence, seeds of doubt. A young intern frowned. "She's using legal terms," she whispered. "Rule 106, chain of custody. Who would know that?" A reporter typed faster. Something wasn't right. Amira lifted her head. "Your Honor, may I at least see the charges against me?" "Denied," Reeves snapped. "This court sees you as a trespassing threat." "A threat?" Amira repeated. "To what? Your comfort?" Murmurs rose like a wave. The judge's face reddened. "I've had enough." But the balance of power in the room was shifting. The letter A side door opened. A bailiff entered carrying a sealed envelope. "Urgent notice from the High Judicial Office, Your Honor." Reeves frowned, annoyed. "Let me see." He tore it open. As he read, the color drained from his face. The prosecutor noticed. "What is it, Your Honor?" Reeves's voice trembled. "An appointment confirmation." "For whom?" Slowly, he lifted his eyes, and for the first time, looked directly at Amira. Not as a defendant, as someone he had wronged. "For Judge Amira Hassan," he whispered. Chaos erupted. Reporters jumped up. The crowd shouted. Officers froze. Amira didn't move. She simply stood tall, the chains on her wrists glinting under the lights. Her bruised cheek gleamed under the camera flashes like a badge of honor. Her voice came out calm, almost a whisper. "Looks like I'm finally taking that bench." The murmuring in the courtroom swelled like a storm inside a seashell. Reporters lifted their cameras. Flashes exploded one after another. The prosecutor stood speechless, lips trembling. Officer Collins stiffened, then spun around in panic. This is impossible," he shouted, but no one heard him anymore. Amira slowly stood. Her cuffs were still on, but the rattling of the chain echoed like an oath. She took one step, then another, and with each step, the room grew quieter. Reporters held their breath. The young intern wiped tears away. Even the stenographer's hands shook. Amira placed her hands on the desk and locked eyes with the judge. "The easiest way to humiliate a woman is to silence her, isn't it?" she said. "But you forgot something. A silenced woman doesn't stop talking. She just waits." Reeves's voice cracked. This is a misunderstanding, a clerical error. Amira shook her head slowly. "No, Your Honor, this is nature's revenge. You once passed judgment. Now they're waiting for your verdict to be read." The face of fear. The prosecutor suddenly yelled, "This is fraud. Those documents must be fake." Her voice didn't echo, because at that very moment, federal officers entered the courtroom. Their navy jackets bore bright badges. One spoke loudly. "Hands where we can see them. This courtroom is now under the authority of Judge Amira Hassan." The atmosphere changed instantly. The fear that ruled this place for years evaporated, replaced by awe. Those who once laughed at Amira now avoided her gaze. Reporters whispered, This will make history." Collins stepped back. "I was following orders," he stammered. Amira turned to him, not with hatred, but with a weary sense of justice. "Following orders is easy," she said. "Carrying a conscience is hard." The quiet rebellion. Federal officers approached Judge Reeves. "Judge Reeves, you are under investigation for corruption and obstruction of justice." Reeves collapsed into his chair. He no longer fit on the throne he once commanded. The prosecutor stuttered, "I was just following procedure." "Procedure?" Amira interrupted coldly. "Replacing justice with fear is not procedure." Officer Collins looked at the floor as he was handcuffed. The echo of the second slap still rang in his head. A judge doesn't forget a slap. But Amira didn't speak out of rage. Her voice carried nothing but dignity. "I wrote down every blow you struck," she said. "Today, those lines become law." The crowd changes. A room that once buzzed with mocking laughter now sat in funereal silence. Some bowed their heads, some prayed. A woman whispered to her son, "Look, this is what justice really is." Amira walked toward the bench. A federal officer unlocked her cuffs. The chains hit the floor with a sound that cut through everyone's chest. A whole era of helplessness seemed to fall with them. She stepped onto the judge's platform. Her fingertips touched the wooden surface. The seat that once towered above her now waited quietly. Amira took a deep breath. Her voice resonated. "This court will begin again." In her voice, she paused, scanning every face in the room. Those who mocked her now stared at the floor, but inside, Amira didn't feel victory. She felt sorrow. When justice wins, she thought, nobody smiles, because justice is always a late apology. Memories flooded back, her childhood, her mother's worn hands, her father's silent nights. The more they silenced her, the louder the world became. But today, she had found her voice. A new beginning. Amira picked up the gavel. "Case number H472, State versus Hassan," she announced. "This case is dismissed, but the pursuit of justice does not end here." Reeves looked up. What will you do to me?" he asked. Amira replied, "I won't do anything. The law will. My job isn't to punish you. It's to repair the system." A few people began to clap, but Amira raised her hand. "Justice begins not with applause," she said softly, "but with silence." And that silence was louder than anything the room had ever heard, closing the silent victory. Cameras still rolled. Reporters were speechless. Officer Collins, now in cuffs, looked back one last time. Amira remained on the bench, watching him. No anger, no arrogance, just one quiet truth. "Anyone can throw a slap," she whispered, "but you cannot stop a silent woman's justice." She brought down the gavel. "Court is adjourned." Flashes exploded. The audience rose to their feet. And in that moment, everyone knew. The woman they once humiliated was now the heart of the courtroom.